Hey y'all, it's Ilana and welcome back to my channel. I feel like it's been a while since I've sat down on this sofa and recorded a video, but hello, I'm Ilana. I live in Portland and I'm also single, so sometimes I talk about Portland, sometimes I talk about my dating life here on this channel. So if you feel like you can relate to all of that, go ahead and subscribe down below to join the Kitten Squad. So without further ado, let's talk about why single people need to stop being treated like they're trash. Over the summer, I did a post on Instagram where I talked about a few things that single people aren't dealing with anymore. So I definitely encourage you to follow me on Instagram so you can look back. I will try and post like the picture of what it looks like so you can read that caption. But this video was inspired by, once again, good old Shani Silver, who I absolutely love. Like, she is just an icon when it comes to us single folks out here just trying to normalize singlehood, in that there's nothing wrong with us, nor is there nothing wrong with being single. I wanted to talk about like different ways that single people have been treated, that they are less than somebody who is in a relationship. And so for me, I definitely cannot tell you how many times I've been offended as a single person for being treated as less than because I am not partnered, especially not partnered with children. This really drives me crazy. But let's talk about airplanes. If you are single or just a solo traveler, doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship or not, and you pay extra for a specific seat, like a window or an aisle seat, because let's be real, nobody books the middle seat unless they're going into like extra leg room and that's all that's available. If a couple asks you, excuse me, would you mind switching seats so I can sit next to my partner, or my partner is in a couple rows back and I was wondering if you'd switch, the answer will almost always be no. You will be okay if you and your partner can be separated on a plane. Like, sit down, you'll see that person whatever destination you're gonna be in. It is perfectly fine. Like, you're two adults, again, you'll see them whenever the plane lands. And also, that's your fault for your poor planning, because your poor planning is not my emergency. And I will not give up my window seat in main cabin comfort for you to try to downgrade me into economy or main with no extra leg room. The sheer audacity. The same thing goes if you have a kid. If two parents are separate but at least one parent is with a kid, again, I'm not switching. I'm also not switching seats if I have the window seat and your child wants the window seat. That's too bad. You should have booked it. Not my problem. Again, single people are not responsible for accommodating to your partner or your children. So if you really need to sit with your child and your partner, then you need to be the one to offer your seat in, which is probably the better option to begin with, to the person that is in the seat that's maybe next to your kid or your partner. It's not the other way around. You can't ask somebody to downgrade their seat or to exchange a ticket for a middle seat or a worse seat. Either you give them a better seat of the equivalent, so let's say you're 3 rows back but you have a ticket that's a few rows up and it's another window seat, that's a fair trade that I'm willing to do. Or bump me up to first class if that's the case, or you give me money for the seat that I paid for. Because again, single people are not giving up their seats that they paid for just to accommodate you and your partner or your family. Another way that single people are treated like garbage, this comes to family vacations or group vacations, or maybe you're renting like a rental home or something and everyone is paying, let's say, $400 for a room. Single people probably end up getting the sofa because the couples get an extra room to themselves, and if it's $400 per room, the couple is probably splitting $200 each, so the couples are paying less than the single people who don't even have a private room, nor do they have a comfortable bed to sleep on, and that's just not right. It is one thing if somebody completely volunteers to sleep on the sofa and they don't mind the lack of privacy, but you better not be charging the same price for somebody who's sleeping on the sofa, because that's BS. Also, if you are charging the same per person, which it should be, then you better make sure that everybody has a room and a bed. And I think sharing beds is fine because at least 2 people get to sleep in a bed and still have privacy with a closed door. But we are no longer going to be treating single people or solos that they don't deserve privacy or the comfort of a bed. So if you can't afford a vacation home that accommodates everyone in your party and making sure that everyone gets a room with a bed, then you can't afford this trip. It's as simple as that. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people who are married with kids will treat single individuals like they are not an adult. I don't know if anyone has ever seen I Love You Man, but if you remember Jason Segel's character, he is single and Paul Rudd is engaged, and Jason Segel's character basically has a lot of guy friends who are married with kids, and he's trying to find time to hang out with his friends, and they're all like, no, I have a family with kids. And so Paul Rudd's character says, they all have families, they're all grown up. And that really triggered me because it's like, just because someone is single, they're not married, and they don't have kids, doesn't make them less grown up or more mature than a single adult. That really triggered me because you are a valid adult when you are single. Just because you're not partnered, you're not married with kids, doesn't make you any more grown up or mature. And that is awful that we are still treating single people like that. So cut that shit out. Just because someone is in a relationship or they're married and they have kids doesn't make them any better. That shit really hurts when I've been treated like less than because I don't have a family, and you know, I haven't met my person yet. I don't know when I'm gonna meet my person, but to all my married folks out there with kids, if you're watching this, I think you know you're not better than me, and I don't think I'm better than you. We're both adults out here living in the world. You just have kids, but that doesn't change anything regarding our maturity status or who is more adult. Oh, and this one really annoys me. For those of you who still work at an office and someone asks you to stay back later because you're single, you don't have a family or kids to attend to at home, so therefore you probably have more time to stay back. Absolutely not. We're not doing that anymore. You set a boundary and you say no. I also have a life. I also am busy. Just because I'm single and I don't have kids doesn't mean that I'm not busy or I have more time than somebody else. That is garbage. So do not expect single people to accommodate the slack of parents who don't know how to either manage their time or don't know how to plan better. It's not our responsibility, and it should be something that you should never ask of a single person. The people who have families should have thought about this, and asking your single person to cover for you just because they assume that you have more time is bullshit, and we're not putting up with it anymore. No is a complete sentence. So you better get used to us saying no. Another one that I freaking hate. The fact that people assume that singles have more money than those who are married with kids. You mean my one income household? When you and your partner probably have 2 incomes, maybe even more combined, and even though I have like 3 or 4 sources of income, I still have to rely on my regular full-time job for my main source of income. So I still consider myself as a one-income household. I have to pay all the bills by myself. I don't get to split that with anyone. I don't have a roommate. And single people deserve to not always have to rely on a roommate. We want to be able to live by ourselves sometimes. I enjoy living alone. And I also have to pay rent by myself. I have to buy all my groceries by myself. Everything is me. I have to cover all of my expenses. I don't get to split that with anyone. People who are married do get that opportunity, and if they have kids, you get more money if you have dependents. Singles are the highest tax bracket. Why? It makes no sense whatsoever. It's so unfair. People who are married with kids should have the higher tax bracket because they make more money and they get more of a tax break than we do. It's not fair, and I'm tired of this old-fashioned mindset or just assuming that we have more money because we are one income. We still have so many things that we have to pay for just to live, and we don't get the opportunity to split it with people. This is one that I got recently. I got a message from someone who basically got mad at me for kind of just like being like, oh look, another pregnancy announcement. Thanks for letting the world know you had sex. Because I know that these people actually had sex to have their child. They didn't go through like an IVF or like a sperm donor. Like I know they had sex, okay? Just trust me on this. And sometimes seeing a bunch of like engagement, marriage announcements, and pregnancy announcements can get very draining to us singles. And sometimes we're just kind of over it at this point. And we shouldn't have to be forced to celebrate your milestone. We're not celebrating singlehood milestones. We're not celebrating our job promotions or any exciting things or when single people buy their own house. We're not celebrating that. Why can't we celebrate that? We always have to celebrate when it relates to relationships and babies and marriage, and it just doesn't really seem fair. So no, don't act entitled for my congratulations, because my feelings are valid as feeling sad, and I'm allowed to feel bitter and unhappy from time to time. Now, don't get me wrong, most times I do, you know, extend my congratulations in that I am happy for people, but sometimes I just don't want to, and that's perfectly valid. We're no longer catching the bouquets or the garters at weddings. We're not calling out single people for their singleness and to fight over a bouquet of flowers, wondering that the superstition is that we're gonna be the next one to get married. No, we're not doing that anymore. It's just embarrassing. Let's talk about our existence. Let's say that we have a friend who is married that we hang out with, maybe individually, one-on-one out in public, and they're not with their partner. My existence as a single person should not be a threat. Okay, I don't want your man. I don't want them. We're just friends. We're having coffee. Or if I am just single talking to somebody who is in a relationship casually in a conversation, I should not be deemed as a threat because I'm single. Absolutely not. I'm just out here existing, having a conversation with somebody. I don't want your person. Stop assuming I want your person. I don't. I'm about to be 31 next month. If you are sitting me at the kids' table during a family holiday meal, I will not be there. I refuse. I'm 31. I'm not a kid. Maybe I want to sit next to my parents. Okay? Or you place all the families together so it shows us that we're treating all humans as equal. And we're also not going to assume that the single people without partners are going to be the babysitters of the kids who are young. At the other opposite end of the table, we're not doing that. That's not our responsibility. This goes back to the whole staying after work thing to try to accommodate families. And I will say this just to kind of add on to that. Someone who has kids' time is more valuable than my time. Yes, our allotted time is definitely going to be different, and I get parenting is a lot of work and it's very hard. But it is not a competition in life. Even if I wanted to go home and sit at home and do absolutely nothing, that is how I choose to spend my time. That is what I want to do. That's my choice. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That time to me is valuable. Okay? Oh my gosh. And let's talk about weddings here again. So a lot of my friends back on the East Coast are getting married, and I'm very happy for them, and I will happily attend weddings because here's the thing, I really do like attending weddings. I think weddings are so fun. And while yes, I did make the choice to move out to the West Coast, just keep in mind that I have to be the one to spend tons of money to fly out to your wedding. And I get that, yeah, you are spending a lot of money on your own wedding, but just keep in mind of those who are coming from out of town they do have to spend a lot of money. And I'm not gonna stay in Virginia just to save money on weddings. I mean, there may be times where I will have to say no to weddings. I've had to say no to 2 weddings before just because there were times where I just couldn't afford to do it. And sometimes I can't even afford to get you a present. So I don't know what to tell you. And another thing that really worries me is like the day that I maybe do get married, my wedding will most likely be on the West Coast, and I am really worried that my friends from the East Coast are gonna make excuses saying, oh, well, you live so far away, I don't think we can come because you live in Oregon. That's not fair. That's absolutely not fair. Think of all the times where I had to shell out money for you. Like, don't be selfish here. Like, again, I realize I made the choice to move out here, but you could do me a solid and visit me for once, because I'm tired of always having to go to freaking Virginia to visit my family and my friends. My friends can come visit me, and I am grateful for the ones that can come to visit me, but it'd be really nice if more of my friends could come visit me. It would really be nice. Like, it's really not asking for a lot. You know, try to save up and do your best, but please stop using this as an excuse. It's not fair. Being in a relationship, once again, does not make you better than those who are single. Just had to remind you guys, we're almost done, okay? Stop assuming something is wrong with us because we are single. We are not broken. There is nothing we need to fix. Dating apps are failing us. And for those of you who did meet your partner on a dating app, that's great. I'm happy for you. But keep in mind, you honestly just got lucky. Finding your partner is truly based off the universe and luck and fate and chance. That's all it is. I haven't experienced that yet. We're all on different timelines. I know how to behave in a relationship. I know that my preferences aren't unreasonable, and honestly, like, I stopped dating and I just feel great. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. So stop treating single people like something is wrong with us. Like, being single is a bad thing, because it's not. That really hurts my feelings when people think that I am broken or that something is wrong with me, and it really fucking grinds my gears when people who are in relationships will be like, oh, well, you haven't tried this yet, or you need to love yourself first. And it's like, honey, you've been dating that same person since high school, and I can guarantee you, you did not love yourself when you were in high school. Sit down, Jane. This is what I'm saying. Like, people in relationships like to think that we are doing something wrong, or that we have to do all these certain things. And trust me, we probably tried most of those things and they still haven't worked for us. So stop trying to push this and saying that we're doing something wrong when we're not. Oh, and don't you dare set us up with people just because they're single and we may have one thing in common with them, or that they're a nice person, you should give them a chance. I would never date them, but you should. It's so belittling, and it's like, is that what you really think of me and my value? Do you really think that this person who is maybe a 0 out of 10, who has no personality, and the only reason you wanted to set me up with them was because they're single? Is that what you really think of me as a person? You're so desperate to push relationships on me, and you're projecting your unhappiness of being single onto me, and that's not okay. I do not let my friends set me up. I make choices for myself, and if I want your help with something, I will ask. And finally, the last thing that really hurts the most is when people who are in marriages with kids start to deprioritize their single friends and do not make time with them for them anymore. You should see your single friends as a break to get away from your kids. Parents need breaks. I think it's healthy to not always be around your partner. I think it's healthy to keep up with your friendships. Ever since a lot of my friends got married, they barely reach out to me. I have to be the one to reach out to them if I ever want to see them when I am in town. It can be a lot, and it's really hurtful, and it makes me feel like my friendship doesn't matter because they just want to spend all of their time with their partner or their kids, especially those who do just get into new relationships and they don't have kids. They spend all of their times with their partner, and then they start to deprioritize their friendships with their single friends, and that shit can really hurt. And I encourage anyone who is in a relationship or anyone who is married with kids to check in with your single friends. Spark conversation with them. Invite them out. that's all we want. I don't know about you, but that made me really heated, but I hope it really opened your eyes. And if you are single and these are some things that you never thought of and you're just like, oh my God, I never thought of this, I should not be accepting this anymore, then I really hope that it helped you, because these were some things that I didn't even like realize, and I'm just like, oh my God, I would have never thought of that, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, I shouldn't have to put up with this anymore. So if you felt like you could relate to this video and you thought that it helped you, do make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!